Good afternoon to all of you joining in on this webinar today. Today's webinar is put on by the Transfer Advisory Committee from IACAC, the Illinois Association for College Admissions Counseling. Today we're bringing to you all a very important topic in the world of high school counselors at this time. Transferring from 2-year to 4-year, what high school counselors need to know. If you weren't on before, I'm Lauren Yates. I am a counselor at Ottawa Township High School. And I don't know about all of you, but right now my seniors are freaking out. With COVID-19, there's a lot going into their decisions of where they're ultimately going to go to school next year. And it's unfortunately also trickling down to some juniors, to the junior level as well. Parents and students are facing a new reality. A lot of them are scared for their students to leave the house, to leave their area, around their family. They're scared to go to a school. They're questioning whether they go to a 4-year or should they go to a community college. That's also having an effect financially as well, deciding what is the best route for them financially, starting at a 2-year or going to a 4-year to start out with. It's very hard, and I know you all can relate to this, not being able to see the students one-on-one. So hopefully today you can take away some information from my fellow panelists that can help navigate this new digital format we're relating to with all of our students at this time. And we also hope to quash some myths about the transition process from a 2-year to a 4-year university. First, we want to take care of some housekeeping. Today on this Zoom webinar, you can see the active speakers. So right now you should be able to see the screen share from Erin Hoover. Thanks again, Erin, for being the host for this and running our slideshow as we present. You should be able to see Erin's screen share as well as me speaking at this time. Every time there's a new speaker, you should just be able to see that speaker. With that being said, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you do know that you should know, hopefully, that there's a Q&A and a chat function. We're asking today during this presentation that the chat, you can feel free to send out messages in the chat, but we ask that questions not be typed in there. We fully want to use the Q&A portion of the Zoom functioning for questions, and we will be having a Q&A session at the end. That is what we want to spend the bulk of the time of the presentation on, is a Q&A. So please type in questions and we'll get to your questions at the end of the presentation. Today's overview, we're going to try to squash 5 different myths. How this is going to work, I am the moderator, so I will be reading the myth out, and then one of my fellow presenters will be squashing that myth using their expertise and knowledge base in the field. And of course, we will end with a Q&A session. Today's presenters, we have Zoe Kudla-Pillay, Director of Recruitment from Carl Sandburg College, Azrat Levland from Illinois Valley Community College. She is the Assistant Director for Admissions Records and Transfer Services. Samantha Miranda, Assistant Director of Transfer Recruitment at Illinois State University. Rebecca Popelka, Director of Community College Partnerships at DePaul University. Tracy Wright, Counselor at Triton College. And me, your moderator, Lauren Yates, School Counselor, Class of 2020 and Class of 2024, Ottawa Township High School. So myth number 1, here we go. Students can wait to the last minute to apply for community college admission.
Thank you, Lauren. As a community college counselor who works with students from admissions to graduation, I hear this myth every semester. So here's what you need to know about admissions. Application is through the community college, and online applications are easy. Community colleges are open admission, and that means all are welcome. However, there are specific steps that students need to take. With enough time, there is less pressure, and the students can receive nudges in each of the steps. It allows them time to prepare for the placement test if needed. They may need to do some review in order to fully do well on the placement test. And with extra time, it allows them to do that. At community colleges, classes are smaller. So when a student waits until the last minute to register, many classes will be filled, and there will be limits in available class choices and class times. If a student has not applied for financial aid, it takes time to process. There is always the possibility of being chosen for verification with financial aid, which means that they request for additional documentation, and it extends the time until the financial aid is awarded. Scholarships are also available at community colleges, and if a student waits until the last minute to apply to college, they may miss the deadline and not receive a scholarship that they otherwise would be eligible for. There are several steps that need to be completed once an application is submitted, and you can see this on the slide. The steps include taking a placement test if needed, completing orientation, meeting with an advisor to select appropriate classes, and then register. The closer to the start of the semester, the longer that this process will take, due to many others also waiting until late enrollment. It makes getting started less positive and can increase the anxiety for the student. So registering early is always helpful. Payment arrangements have to be made. Students don't often realize that payments need to be put into place, or they may be dropped if they overlook this final step. Students want to make sure financial aid is finalized and that their funds are available prior to the start of classes. That way they can purchase books and other course requirements, and they will be ready to go on the very first day.
Okay, myth number 2, community college is not a good choice for students with high grades.
Thank you, Lauren. So absolutely, this is definitely something we hear when we're on the road coming from the community college, and many times that conversation just looks different with those students. But I will share that these high achieving students will choose to attend the community college for a variety of reasons. And one, of course, is pretty easy, is the financial reason. They'll save thousands of dollars by attending the community college. And heck, they probably started taking dual credit courses, so they already see the value of that. Another big reason is academics. So these high achieving students might just be doing really well, but they probably don't know what they really want to major in, or if what they want to major is really what they want to do. So being at the community college really buys them time and gives them an idea of how to solidify their choice. The other plus side that I can share too, and many of the different community colleges offer an honors program or some of the honor societies where they get some of that challenging coursework. And that really helps them to be able to be among peers that challenge them and help them kind of get an idea what to be expected. And of course, this is a no-brainer. Convenience is a big thing for those students, especially if they're working a part-time job. So it's important for them to be able to run home, get what they need, and then also go to campus and then make it to work. Some other opportunities that are somewhat hidden are being able to study abroad. So many students might take advantage of studying abroad while they're at the community college, or being able to save that money and study abroad at the four-year university. And of course, merit scholarships are available for those high achieving students. And those that are lucky enough to be athletic, there's also some scholarships in that area. So many of our high achieving students, when they do attend the community college, it's been really great to work with them.
Okay, thanks, Azarette. Now on to myth number 3. You don't need to file a FAFSA to attend a community college.
Lauren, so even though community college is more affordable, and that can be a reason that students choose to start at a 2-year and then transfer onto a 4-year, that doesn't always mean that financial aid isn't available for them. As I'm sure you all know, in order to qualify for federal, state, and sometimes institutional aid, students still need to file the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA. Some students, they might not think that they'll qualify for anything, or that they'll only be offered loans based on their family's income. And that might be the case, but the FAFSA is free and it only takes about an hour to fill out. And they could be missing out on thousands of dollars in gift aid, which doesn't need to be paid back if they forego submitting the FAFSA. Some of the students may also receive refund checks as well from their institution if their aid covers the entire balance. And these refunds can be used towards indirect costs like books, supplies, transportation, and some institutions actually require that students file the FAFSA in order to be considered for scholarships. Even two-year institutions do sometimes require that. With the current economic situation, if a student's family has had a significant change in income, they should always reach out to the financial aid office. Two-year schools do offer special circumstance forms as well that they can fill out so that an adjustment can be made to their financial aid package. And if they have questions, or if you have any questions about the FAFSA itself and filling it out, you or they can always contact the designated Illinois Student Assistance Commission member for their area to receive free FAFSA help as well as some guidance.
Thanks, Zoe. Now, myth number 4, community college credits won't transfer.
Thank you, Lauren. I do hear this misconception quite often from students and parents. They think that the courses they've taken at the community college won't transfer easily or won't transfer at all to the 4-year, and this is simply not the case. There are guarantees in the state of Illinois that ensure a smooth transfer of credit from the 2-year to the 4-year. Highlighted on this slide are 4 excellent resources that your students can use today for guidance on what courses they should take and then how their credit will transfer. The first and the most important resource is the Community College Academic Advisor. Community college advisors are experts in making sure students are taking the appropriate courses for their academic goals. If a student knows where they want to transfer and what they want to study, recommended courses are made easily. But if they don't know one or the other or both, the community college advisor can help them explore options and find a good fit. The other 3 resources are here and can be used to help see how credit will transfer. Transferology is a national online tool where students can plug in the courses they've taken and or plan to take and see how they will transfer to any participating institution. It's a handy tool because you can see the percentage match of how credit will transfer in. For example, Illinois State University might show in Transferology that will accept 90% of the classes that a student entered, but Illinois Wesleyan might accept 100%. In that way, it is a unique comparison tool. iTransfer is home to our Illinois Articulation Initiative, or IAI. Go ahead and raise your hand below if you've heard of IAI before. A lot of you. Right? Wonderful. It looks like many of you have heard of IAI. For those who don't know, IAI is the general education plan that Illinois community colleges, all 12 public universities, and participating private colleges agree to. It guarantees the transfer of general education credit for participating IAI schools. If a course is an IAI general education course at Harper College, for example, it's an IAI general education course at Northern, at Southern, at Elmhurst, and on and on. So the IAI is a nice guarantee. It's made up of 5 categories, 12 courses, and once completed, that meets the general education requirement at, again, all participating IAI institutions in the state. iTransfer is the website that shares all IAI courses at participating IAI institutions. And then finally, articulation guides. Articulation guides are specific to the 4-year and can be more detailed than Transferology and iTransfer to see how the specific college will transfer the course. If a student knows the 4-year they want to transfer to after the community college, I always tell students to bookmark the 4 years articulation guides. It's just a nice detailed course list to confirm how every course that they're going to take will transfer. In addition to resources that confirm the transfer of credit, there are many 4-year colleges in Illinois that offer guaranteed admission for transfer students. Signing up for guaranteed admission programs their senior year of high school or freshman year at the community college gives students peace of mind, knowing as long as I meet the requirements of the program, I have guaranteed admission on the other end to the 4-year. Some examples of a guaranteed admission program: Rever Promise is IACU's guaranteed admission program for transfer students. DePaul has a guaranteed program called DAP, DePaul Admission Partnership Program. The University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign has Parkland Pathway, and these are just some examples of many in the state of Illinois. I encourage students to look to see if the four-year that they're interested in transferring into offers the guarantee and to sign up early.
Thanks, Samantha. Now, myth number 5, transfer students are less likely to complete their bachelor's degrees.
Thanks, Lauren. So addressing this myth has a lot to do with some of the things that Sam just shared in her slides as well, that will show you some of these pieces that are in place, in particular, the Illinois Articulation Initiative, give particularly students in Illinois a really strong foundation for transferring and completing their bachelor's degrees. As part of the Illinois Articulation Initiative, each institution that participates, either 2 or 4-year institution, has a designated transfer coordinator. And these transfer coordinators meet twice a year to talk about issues of transfer through the state of Illinois, including some of the issues and with transfer equivalencies that you'll see on the screen here. And IAI is a long-standing initiative. It's actually 27 years old. It was established in 1993. So that's given the state a great foundation for supporting those students who start at the community college and then go on to a 4-year institution. And as a result of this, as you'll see on the next slide, Illinois is actually #1 in the country for transfer from the 2-year to the 4-year, and those students earning their bachelor's degree. Of students who've earned a bachelor's degree, 61% in the state have attended a 2-year institution at some point in time. And overall, we have the #1 graduation bachelor's degree attainment rate for students who start at a community college and then transfer to a 4-year institution. In the state of Illinois, that bachelor's degree attainment rate is currently 53.8% compared to the national average of 42.2%. And a lot of that is due to these long-standing agreements and partnerships that we have throughout the state to support our students. And an additional way that students are supported through their bachelor's degree by individual institutions is through transfer scholarships. So many, if not most, 4-year institutions within the state of Illinois have specific scholarships for students who are transferring. And so this is money set aside just for those students for merit-based aid. And almost all institutions also have Phi Theta Kappa scholarships. Phi Theta Kappa is the honor society for community college students. Students are selected for that and invited into that as part of their academic performance at the community college. And there are specific scholarships at 4-year institutions that students can receive if they are PTK Phi Theta Kappa members. So that goes along with helping support our students who are transferring from the community college to the 4-year institution, and has led to us being the leader in bachelor's degree attainment.
Okay, give me 1 second, guys. My video is not reloading, but okay, I'll just talk. Hopefully my video comes back up. Thanks, Rebecca, for your insights on that last myth. And thank you to all my fellow presenters for all of your insights on trying to debunk some of these myths. As high school counselors, it is a very hard time for us. I know it is for me. I'm figuring that it's probably a hard time for a lot of you out there that we don't get to interact with our students one-on-one. We need to try to do our best to give them the best success we can possible at this time, and reassure them that with their decisions, it will be okay whichever way they choose to go. They will find the right path. We will help get them there. And we have some tools that can help them on their way. First, we have to make sure, as always, that they're researching the colleges and deciding which institution is right for them. We all know that there's areas that we need to consider even in the initial college search, but this is incredibly true at this time, making sure they're looking at the typical ways we ask them to look at colleges, but reassuring the fit for them is right at this moment, and making sure their financial fit is there and the transferability fit is there as well for them. Dialogue with admissions counselors, #2, that's incredibly important. Having that dialogue with both the admission counselor rep for their freshman admissions at the 4-year university or the transfer reps and that community college admissions rep to make sure they know what the plan would look like if they were to transfer. If you guys all don't know, there are a lot of colleges. I know May 1st is looming on Friday. A lot of institutions have moved some of their deadlines around to a later date to help facilitate this uncertain time for our high school seniors. That kind of leaves them a little bit more time to have their options being open. NACAC does have a guide on their website that is monitoring and tracking all of those changes with the May 1st decision. So that is a very good resource tool for all of us to use with our students at this time. Also, number 3, making sure they're encouraging them to talk to an advisor or a counselor to select the best courses for them at whichever school they go to. If they are considering the community college and trying to transfer, making sure that dialogue is happening as they sit down and register for their freshman year classes. And finally, financials. Financials is huge right now. Making sure they're using all the resources. We know the resources to get them to find the best financial fit. Relying, as Zoe said, on reaching out to the IACAC reps. The IACAC does have that very nice cost comparison tool on their website that you can use to refer parents and students to if they need to in this time digitally. Making sure that they're talking to the financial aid offices, updating their FAFSAs so that the community college and that four-year university might be on their FAFSA so they can see what kind of financial aid package they can get at this time. With that being said, we're now going to transition into opening up the floor for Q&A. Again, if you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A box on your screen. And as we go, the panelists I'll introduce a question and then a panelist will volunteer to answer them. So start asking any questions you might have at this time. And we'll start with our very first one. And this one, Rebecca's going to answer this one. Are the credits guaranteed to transfer through IAI, even for specific programs?
Yeah, so I think this is there's 2 parts to this question, I think. So if an institution is participating in IAI, then yes, that credit is transferable from the 2-year to the 4-year. However, I'm guessing that it's a matter of, this question I think is really addressing the issue of transferability versus applicability to the student's degree. So a student can have a set of courses that are transferable from one institution to the other, but then the second question is the set of courses that they have applicable to the major and the bachelor's degree that they're looking for? And this is just to reiterate what Lauren just said. This is why it's so important for students to connect with the 4-year institution as early as possible, because that's really who can give them guidance on some of these nuances, and also their transfer counselors at their community college as well. And particularly, I know you asked in this question about engineering. I know that there are schools, 4-year institutions out there that specifically have some of those guaranteed admission, transfer pathway agreements for engineering students. So that's always worth exploring as well. Some of those programs that Sam mentioned in her piece of the presentation. So yes, of course, if it's IAI approved, we'll transfer from one institution to the next, but whether that is applicable and a requirement for their degree is kind of a next level of looking at that credit. So hope that helps.
Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, so my next question is, do you feel that the 2-year institutions in Illinois can handle what some have predicted to be an increase in attending students, whether it is on campus or online? Which one of my lovely panelists would like to answer that one? Okay, Tracy, go ahead.
Okay, so I would say that my experience at Triton over the years has been that we are very proactive in anticipating what the needs of our students are going to be. And we do monitor how our enrollment is going, and we make adjustments as needed. However, it is one of those situations where registering early is helpful, because if the student waits till the very last minute, there may not be as much time frame for us to make those adjustments. But yes, our administration even now is talking about what to do into fall, even though we already are anticipating virtual for summer. We are also planning worst case scenario for the fall.
Okay, thanks, Tracy. Here's our next question. Are there some majors that don't transfer very well? Sam, go ahead.
Great question. There's some majors that don't transfer very well. This will depend, of course. You always want to check with the four-year institution they eventually want to earn that degree from, on the recommended path. There are some, just from personal experience at Illinois State, degrees that are very specific on when they want you to transfer because of time to degree. So we have several degrees, for example, that want you to transfer sooner than 2 years. So after a year, you can work on your general education, but to ensure that you finish the degree requirements, we need you to transfer after 2 semesters versus 4. So my recommendation on that is always to check with the four-year admissions office, and they'll let you know if A, they recommend starting at the community college or not. It's very rare that it's not. And then if so, if transferring early would be recommended, they would let you know that as well. Good question, Dottie.
Okay, we have another question. Students are worried about e-learning in the fall and think it would be cheaper or a better option to go to a community college for a year. What financial challenges would you talk with them about? Would they be better off taking a gap year? Go ahead, Zoe.
So I really think that this depends on the student as well as the program that they're interested in enrolling in. When it comes to going to a community college for their first year, that can definitely save a lot of money for them because they're taking their general education requirements. They can work towards earning an associate's degree, or at the very least getting the requirements to transfer to the four-year institution that they want to go into. However, it depends on which school they also want to transfer into, because some schools, they prefer that their students transfer in junior year at certain programs. But if the student only wants to take 1 year, then that might pose a challenge for them. With taking a gap year or deferring their admission from a four-year for a year, some schools are making it so that, like the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, for instance, they're not allowing students to take classes even at community colleges if they choose to defer for 2 semesters. So I really think that the answer is that it depends, which is really frustrating, I know, but it really is so individualized to each different student as well as their institution and the program that they want to go into. Something to also keep in mind as well is that schools definitely have transfer scholarships as well. So if a student is concerned that they'll be foregoing their freshman, if they earned a scholarship for their freshman year to start at a four-year, if they're concerned that it will be more expensive in the long run because they won't have that financial aid, reminding them that, like we had mentioned before, there are scholarships for transfer students specifically. There are also Phi Theta Kappa scholarships as well. So these are all just things to keep in mind.
Thanks, Zoe. Samantha, do you want to circle back around to Dottie's next question? What degrees were you referring to that don't transfer well? That was her next question.
Yes, I just typed out the answer for her. What I was referring to is degrees that are in the STEM field, for example. There are many examples here. You'll just want to be in touch with the four-year again on specific recommendations on what needs to be done at the 2-year in order to ensure transfer of credit and degree, staying on track for a degree, and then also time at the 2-year, again, to stay on track for a degree. So anytime students are going into the STEM field particularly, I encourage them to reach out to us just to ensure they're taking the right classes and transferring at the right time.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, Zoe, you're going to answer this next one from Anne. Are most dual credit classes in high school transferable to top tier universities like UIUC or other Big Ten schools?
So in general, I would say that the answer is yes, because dual credit classes are generally going to be introduction classes, going to be classes that are like, English 101 or something along those lines. Some high schools will have embedded associate's degrees in them. Like I know some of our high schools in the Carl Sandburg College District do. And that's always something that's important to communicate with the four-year institution about. So for instance, if this student is interested in going to Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, they're going to want to check transferology to make sure that that credit is going to transfer in as college credit, but they will always accept that credit as high school credit. Whether or not they take it in as actual transferable credit is going to be up to that institution, but in general, the answer is usually yes.
Thanks, Zoe. Okay, Tracy, this one's for you. Generally speaking, transfer scholarships, merit-based, are not as substantial as scholarships for first-year students at four-year schools. I gotta pull it back up. It just went down. Okay. Is it worth it financially to go to community colleges for one semester and then transfer, i.e. early graduates, or for one full year?
So I would say that that really depends on the university that you're planning on transferring to. Every school has a minimum number of credit hours that need to be taken in order for them to be considered a transfer student. So you want to check with the individual school. In general, it is what I would say is a myth that there aren't good scholarship money for community college students. High achieving students can get significant financial merit-based scholarships for a transfer to many, if not most, of the schools. We previously mentioned Phi Theta Kappa, but that is not the only scholarship. Many of our students find that they are able to go to a school that otherwise financially would be out of their reach by using community college as a pathway and achieving the merit grades that they need in order to get those scholarships.
Thanks, Tracy. Okay, we have our next question. Are there any limitations with IAI or with other transfer agreements for undocumented students? Will all of these schools accept undocumented students, or is that a question for individual universities? Rebecca.
So I'm going to address this question, but please, other panelists, feel free to jump in. There are not any limitations for IAI as far as undocumented students and their participation, because it's really an agreement between the two institutions in reviewing the classes that they're taking. So as long as that student is enrolled at the community college in IAI approved courses, then those courses are part of that agreement. I think with most institutions, they do accept undocumented students, but it's mostly a financial aid piece, of course, for these students and what they are eligible to receive. But as far as participating in certain agreements or partnerships that the institutions might have, either school to school or through IAI, that undocumented students are welcome to participate in those as well.
Does anyone else want to jump in on that one, or do we have any more questions out there? Okay, well, if we have no further questions, we're going to go ahead and give a wrap up. Thanks again for attending today. I'm going to turn this over to Samantha.
Thanks, Lauren. We know that out there we have a mix of IACAC members and non-members joining us here today. If you are not a member and are interested, please indicate that on your evaluation form that we're going to email you later. IACAC has incredible benefits, networking opportunities, and resources that are all highlighted here. Specifically, we do have a high school counselor professional development committee that offers free professional development opportunities for counselors and college counselors throughout the state. Finally, if you are interested in getting PD credit for this webinar, there will be a link on the evaluation to complete the Illinois State Board of Education evaluation form. Thank you all so much for attending. We hope you stay healthy and safe, and you have a great afternoon.